We've got Mr. Bandele Olusegun, who is a former bank examiner here with us today. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much.
And this cuts across states. It doesn't matter what party they belong. They seem to have issues. The question of bailout funds given to them. States, some of them still complain about not paying either salaries or pensions. Do you think that these bailout funds in the first instance would even get us out of this if we keep going this way?
Yeah, constitutionally, the money belongs to the states. So for the federal government to even withhold this is an aberration. And like the late sage, Chief Obafemi Awolowo said some time ago, that Nigeria runs a beggar economy. You know, the beggar sits by the roadside and doesn't know how much he's going to make for the day. And that's exactly what the states are doing now. It's their right. And it's because we see how this military overhang, that you have to go to Abuja for everything. It's constitutionally their right to get this overcharge refunds.
Yeah, but what stops the states from generating funds to take care of their needs?
Yeah, that's a very good one. Actually, you know, growth comes from two dimensions. It's either from financing or ideas. And in Nigeria, we emphasize so much on financing. The other aspect is ideas. What are the policies that these states are churning out? And again, we as citizens, we need social capital. What targets are we setting for the state governments? And what are the state assemblies doing? Is their responsibility to check the state governors, you know, and ask them questions. So it's not anybody's responsibility to say, oh, they should release the money to the states because they will mismanage it. No, the state assemblies should do their work.
No, the monies have been released to the states,
yes.
And the complaint now is that some of them have not used it appropriately from the agreement with the federal government to spend 70%, I think it's about 70% of that, to pay salaries, and then use the balance of it to fund capital projects for the states. That's the bone of contention now. Do you think that the states are being sincere to themselves in spending that 70% in paying salaries?
Yes, it's discretionary to the state governors, and you don't have any right to dictate to the governor exactly how he's going to spend the money. And that's what I'm saying, that we need strong institutions.
But you know, the governors, I'm sorry to just butt in, because the governors went to the president, had a meeting with him to say they are unable to pay salaries. The president got concerned and said, okay, we'll give you this money, use it to pay the salaries that you've asked for. So how comes that after getting the money, the governors all of a sudden change and then should I use the word now, don't want to pay the salaries?
Yeah, because they have their priorities. And you cannot really dictate to the state governors how they should spend this money. Sincerely, constitutionally, you elected them. And you've given them that responsibility to provide for the security and good governance of the state. So how they spend the money is discretionary. And what they are doing is to say, okay, I have a priority. Maybe for capital projects, I'll do that first. If they mismanage the funds, then you allow the anti-graft agencies to go after them. And the state assemblies should be more responsible. They are supposed to hold the governors accountable. And even through the system, the civil service in the past used to checkmate the politicians. But nowadays, the civil service has gone to sleep.
You talk about priorities. I mean, shouldn't salaries be a priority for any state governor?
Yeah, it should be a priority because salaries are a sunk cost, more so if it is in arrears. But again, you look at the returns. Now, if you have a better return from a project, then you look at that as a priority, you know. And
but even
to the detriment of the workers?
Yeah, most of the workers, what returns are they getting? So many of them don't go to work. We should begin to ask and talk about productivity. How productive are these workers? Now, and how many are the workers compared to the larger population of the state?
That would seem to suggest that even the bailout fund in the first place was just fraud.
No, it wasn't a fraud.
Because it would suggest to be fraud, because if the governors come under the umbrella that we don't have money to pay our workers, and then they're giving this money, and then all of a sudden it changes, the dynamics change. That would seem to suggest that fraud has come inside. They are unable to pay the salaries of the workers, and they are unable to do the projects. Where is the money?
Well, you see, like I said earlier on, it's discretionary. Now, it's constitutionally their money is their right, and this reform from Paris Club, actually, as you know, the Paris Club is just an informal club of creditor nations trying to help debtor nations out of their problems, as opposed to the London Club, which is for private creditors, you know. And in the first place, there was an overcharge. So this money in the first place should have gone to the states, and the government, the federal government is now saying, take this money that should have been given to you in the first place back. So we should just allow the governors to do their work and allow the state assembly to check them, you know, and other NGOs and other Nigerians. We need social capital in this country as citizens.
I know that, you know, the state assemblies have not been living up to standard.
Definitely, yeah. It's one of the aberrations in the system.
So if you
most of them
agree
are
that,
an appendage of the state.
If you
governments.
agree that the state assemblies, sorry to say, have not been living up to their charge, why shouldn't the federal government come up with another mechanism to ensure that, you know, the general lives of citizenry are improved?
Yeah, constitutionally, there's nothing they can do. You know, the constitution has given the state assemblies that power. So if they don't do it, then it's left to the electorate to vote them out and put credible people the next time. Yeah.
Do you think it's then justified when states say, well, we want to be able to generate more resources by maybe ceding or shedding some of the weight or load you have in the exclusive list, make it so that we can access our resources and use it? If there are complaints about this, even not just at the state level, but at the local government level, what hope would there be if this is what we're going to see, if this is what we're seeing now? What's the guarantee that if you give them more money, you won't see worse?
Yeah, actually, there's so much despondency in the land right now. People are frustrated because the expectations of the people are not met. And most of these governors seem not to be too serious. That's the way I'll put it. Because the fact that they don't give them targets. In other countries, they give most of these governors targets, that we expect this from you, and so on and so forth. But in Nigeria...
Who gives them targets?
Yeah, the citizens. And the NGOs, the opposition parties, they say, okay, these are the metrics. For education, we expect this from you. For works, this number of roads should have been tied, and so on. But in Nigeria, we lack social capital, you know, and that's why these governors get away with most of these things. You know, it shouldn't be. You know, we should have strong social systems whereby governors are checkmated. Yeah, I know a lot of looting has gone on in the system even in the past, and it's so embarrassing even to each and every one. And I recollect some time ago, I talked about the need to change our public accounting system. You know, when you look at countries like Singapore and New Zealand that are the least corrupt countries in the world, the difference between them and us is that they have a different accounting system. Here we run the cash-based system, which is fraud-prone. So by now, we should be thinking of moving over to the accrual system of public accounting, you know, which most countries have adopted now and has checkmated corruption. There's so much corruption in this land, and that's why you can hear of Maynard taking billions and all this happening. We must change the public accounting system if we want to get out of this vicious circle. Something must be done.
All right, Mr. Bandele Olusegun, former bank examiner, thank you for coming on this morning.